Here we go. Well, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. We finally got hooked up here. Good morning. Good morning. Great, great. Well, good morning to you. Good morning. Just take a moment and come on in and join us this morning. We're excited for our conversation today with our special guest, Ashley Daniels. We have some exciting information for you today. We look forward to all that she has to share. So once again, good morning to you. Good morning and welcome to Destiny Colloquy. Destiny Colloquy is about real, active, live conversation. I am Decorious Vines, of course, your host, and I have the distinct pleasure and honor of having with me today as my co-host, Lois Daniels. So Lois, welcome, welcome. Feel free to go ahead and share with your family and your friends, and be sure to put in the chat where you are watching from. You know, I'm coming to you from Hampton, Virginia. Ashley is coming to you from Las Vegas, Nevada, and Lois just happens to be in Indiana. And let me also say to you that, as I've noted on some of our chat series, we've had guests from Uganda, Austria, Canada, and South Africa. It's amazing how the airways can take us from our home right into different places. So I just want to thank each of you for taking this time out of your day to join in with us today. It is so very thoughtful of you, and I want you to know that I am very grateful. Let me just say a little something about our co-host today. Our co-host, as I said, is Lois Daniels. She is an educator with the Hampton Public School System. She works in early childhood education for over 25 years. She enjoys traveling. When I say travel, she loves to travel. She volunteers in the community, researching family history, and enjoys being around family and friends. Lois is an active, when I say active, enthusiastic, passionate picture taker. She captures all types of scenery and pictures to make those wonderful, lasting memories. One of her favorite scriptures is, I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. Psalms 139:14. So Lois, will you go ahead on and introduce to us and to others on our viewing platform, our special guest, Ashley.
Good morning, everyone. It is so good to be here this morning. And thank you, Reverend Decorious. We thank you for that wonderful excitement about myself. So I really appreciate that. I am so honored. I just want to shout out to everyone. Say, get on Facebook Live, tell your friends, tell everyone here, especially my sorors out here in Indianapolis. And I'd just like to say that it is good to introduce. It is actually my honor. It is my honor this morning. So I just say good morning again. And it is my honor to introduce our very, very special guest. She's a beautiful young lady, and she's very, very dear to my heart. I tell you, I'm so glad to have her to be a part of our family. She is none other than my daughter-in-law. So I would like to tell you a little bit about her. Her name is Ashley Daniels. She was born and raised in Missoula, Montana. After graduating from the University of Montana with a degree in education, Ashley moved to Las Vegas, Nevada. And this is where she's teaching. She started her teaching career there in 2004. Ashley has worked in the same school system. She's very dedicated. She's worked there for 18 years. Yes, she is married and has one son. Her hair loss it started in 2018, and she was completely bald by January 2019. The type of alopecia she has is called alopecia universalis, which is a total body hair loss. The total body hair loss includes losing your eyelashes, your eyebrows, and total body hair. So at this time, I just want to say welcome, Ashley, to Women of Destiny Colloquy.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here, and I'm so proud of you guys. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone.
Again, thank you for joining us. And as we said before, we're excited to have you as our special guest, and we look forward to our discussion today. So moving forward in our discussion, I want the viewers to know that at any time that you can put your questions that you may have in the chat, and we will look out for them and try to address them as time permits. So Ashley, let me just go ahead on with the first question to you. Tell us what alopecia is, and is it hereditary? And are there different types of alopecia?
Okay, so there are different types of alopecia. There's three different types. There's alopecia areata, which is the patches of hair loss where you'll just get little more round patches kind of throughout the hair. Then there's there's alopecia totalis, which is just all the scalp total loss. And then there's the one that I have, which is alopecia universalis, where it's total body, like Lois said earlier. So I have the rarest kind. In the past, when I was 27, I did have the alopecia areata, which is the just small little hair patches, and that grew back. It can be hereditary. I don't know anyone in my family that does have it, but it can be hereditary, but it also means that maybe I could pass it on, but it's kind of unpredictable as far as that goes. And then I'm trying to think of what else. What else was in the question? I think that was it.
That was it. That was good.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, Ashley, I know you said that you described the different types of alopecia. So, like, say if there's the type that you have, does everyone with the type that you have lose all of their hair?
So the type that I have is where people lose all of their hair. I've had alopecia twice in my life. So once when I was 27 is when I had the alopecia areata, and that my hair ended up growing back. So I never had anything further. I didn't think anything of it at the time. I just, oh, this is something temporary, and it was at that time. And then later in life, I started with, it started on my side, and where it was just a little quarter size patch, and then it ended up growing, and then events happened, and then it went to total body. So it's pretty rare for it to turn from alopecia areata to what I have, the alopecia universalis, but it can happen, but it's definitely more rare. So not everyone has this type of alopecia.
So Ashley, alopecia can affect anyone, regardless of the age, the gender, the race. And it is said that most cases develop before the age of 30. I think you mentioned that, what age were you when you first noticed that you were losing hair?
It first happened when I was 27, and I didn't even notice it. My hairdresser at the time, she said, you know that you have a bald patch back here. And I said, what? No, I don't. And I could feel it. And it's a weird feeling. It's very smooth. It's, like if you just shaved your head, and it was just a patch. And so when she would style my hair, she would cut my hair. I had a bob at the time. She would cut my hair to make sure that it stayed hidden. And when I would go back, I would ask her, because I couldn't see it, and I would ask her, is it better or worse? And eventually you could feel the little hair growth in it, and it just kind of filled itself in. So yeah, when I was 27, I also had some more up around like my hairline at that time. But then when my hair grew back, I never had any problems with it, never thought anything of it again until I was, gosh, in 2018, I would have been 38 is when it came back.
I was sitting thinking that, hair loss can happen in so many different forms or ways and from many different things. I know I suffer from a thyroid condition, and that was one of the things that happened to me, was that I would lose my hair, and then my hair would thin out. And the older you get, seemed like the worse it would get, because it naturally comes with age, your hair thins. And then I had this thing going on with the thyroid as well. But there were some things that helped it to catch back up and to grow. Are there any things that that can help with the hair growth for it to come back any? Or I was looking on Facebook, I think it was yesterday, and I noted that Lilly, this company Lilly, and I forget the other company they're partnership with, they have now a pill that's out that's supposed to help grow your hair with alopecia. And I was reading about it this morning, and I thought about it. I said, Lord, that could be a good way. But then you got to remember, you got to make sure that when you do these things that you check with your doctor, because there's side effects, and things like that going on. But do you know of any natural thing that maybe could be used to help, with hair growth? Have you experienced? And I remember you were telling me when we were talking the other day, that even some of your hair is starting to come back in patches. So tell us about that.
So when I first had alopecia when I was 27, I didn't mind the patch in the back that was hidden, but when I had the ones in the front or along, because I have really dark hair, the ones in the front, I ended up getting steroid injections, where I would go to the dermatologist and they do steroid injections. And I did not like that at all. I didn't like the needles. But that is one way, and it's supposed to stimulate the hair growth. And so I know that is one treatment option. I wouldn't recommend it for me ever again, just because I feel like the needles in the scalp, it wasn't my thing. But I know that people do that. And since I have total body hair loss on my scalp, that would be too many needles and too many things. So that is one way to treat the smaller patches of alopecia. I know that there's natural things. People talk about diet. When I went to the dermatologist, I've been to multiple doctors to figure out what's wrong with me and what's going on internally, and get all kinds of blood tests and everything else. And everything else came back normal. It's nothing that I can, necessarily like do other than, diet, exercise. But I know that there's different things that work for some people and doesn't work for other people. So there's no one overall cure for
the one fix.
Yes. And I know that my dermatologist, the last time I went back, mentioned that there is a new alopecia treatment out. My mom sent me the link recently. There's a new drug on the market. However, I think the side effects are pretty heavy, so I haven't looked into any of those things.
Yeah.
Yes. And Ashley, although alopecia is not medically disabling, but it can affect a person. I know, like as Decory said, like with thyroid problem, I too suffer from a thyroid problem, and my hair was very long, and I used to brush it. And I remember one day a lot of my hair came out in the brush, and I didn't know what was going on. And the first thing come to my mind, you have cancer. I'm like, I don't have cancer. I don't know what it is, but it's not cancer. And so, I want to hear about, if you care to share that, like what are some of the emotions perhaps that if you care to share with us, like when you realize that this is alopecia?
So when I first had it, I know that, it started as this was when I was 38, when Jameson was a year old. I noticed the small patch right above my ears. So when I would put my hair up in a ponytail, you could see this, and I bald patch, and I was so self-conscious about it that I didn't want to wear my hair up. And then it continued growing, and just the, oh my gosh, are people looking at me? You can see this thing. And so when it continued to get worse, and it wasn't just the small patch above my ear, and it ended up being very thin throughout. And like you said, when you brush your hair and just seeing the gobs of hair coming out, because I had, really thick, dark hair, but seeing the gobs of hair, I didn't want to brush my hair. I didn't want to shower, because when I would shower and, you run your fingers through your hair and it comes out on your hands, and it just, the whole looking at the hair that would come out, and it would just stress me out. I didn't want to move. I wanted to stay in bed. I wanted to sit around. I didn't want to do any of the things to like get ready. So it was hard for me to want to do things, because you see the loss of the hair, on the counters, in the bathroom and things like that. So that was really difficult for me, is just, each day getting worse and worse and worse. So
Yeah. Like for me, and maybe so many of you out there, like you said, it gets worse, or, like me with thyroid, it got worse. So I don't know how many of you out there can raise your hand and say, I felt depressed, or I felt shame. Like you said, you don't want to go out, because it's like all these eyes are looking at you, even though some may be looking at you, but then there are some who are not. And then, have you ever said, why me? Or just frustrated?
yes. Well, and especially since I didn't know anyone else that had it, and I didn't know, why is this all of a sudden coming on? Why is this happening? And my biggest fear is like, what if I go bald? And I kept, that was, what if I go bald? What if I lose all my hair? And that was my biggest, like, oh my gosh, what would happen? And so the whole fear behind it, and not knowing of what would happen, the fear of the unknown. Like, if I continue to lose my hair at this rate, I'm not going to have any left. And oh my gosh, then what would people think? Then what is my family going to think? What are my students, going to think? And this whole time this all was happening in the fall. So new class, the stress of school, the stress of, getting into all that stuff, and then having to get ready every morning. And I would wear my sunglasses on my head, because my hair was so like thin on, at the top, that I would wear sunglasses on my head at first to try and hide what was going on and make sure that nobody noticed. So it was the hiding, like you said, the shame, the embarrassment, not knowing how much it was going to continue. Because in the past, my hair always grew back, and it wasn't like this.
Yeah. Well, I have a question. What about, I know some females who suffers from alopecia. Do you know if men also suffers
Yes.
from alopecia?
Yes, I actually follow people. I have an alopecia Instagram that I created, because I like to follow people that have alopecia as well. And so that's something, people that I can relate to. And there's men and there's women that have alopecia as well. I know that there was, football players in the NFL. There's people that have come out, that have and you can tell with the no eyebrow look and the bald head, and yep. So it's men and women. Yes.
Okay. But maybe before we leave, you can put that, if you don't mind sharing your Instagram. So if there are others out there who would like to know more about that, well, to follow you, and perhaps they suffer from alopecia as well, or some type of hair loss.
Mm-hmm.
Ashley, I was thinking in preparing for this series, I was thinking how society puts pressure on one to look a certain way. They put that out there. You need to look this way. You need to be this way. You need to do this, when we need to just be comfortable in our own skin and who we are, and not allow the pressure of society to dictate to us who we are. And that's one thing that I admire about you. You have taken the liberty of taking control of your alopecia, not letting it control you. You're taking it at the helm. So you're being your authentic self with or without hair. But the way the society is, they want us to look a certain way. That, for instance, like the Crown Act they have out now, especially for Black women with natural hair. It was a taboo thing. We were trying to straighten, we were trying to curl, we were trying to do this and make ourselves look, presentable. But we just need to be who we are, comfortable and who we are in the image that God made us in. Hair, anything this outward appearances didn't have anything to do what's on the inside. It's that inside that what matters the most. And I was thinking also that we take for granted what hair really does. We take for granted what it does. What are some of the protective things that we miss sometimes when you don't have hair? For instance, like I was reading, wearing sunscreen, for your head, wearing wraps to protect your eyes from sun and debris and stuff like that. What are some of the things that you do to protect yourself?
So that's what's interesting is when I lost, after I lost my hair, I had accepted that and then lost eyebrows and eyelashes and the rest of it kind of fell out. Like when my nose hair, I don't have nose hair.
Mm-hmm.
So you think about that when I, get a runny nose or, the germs and things like you have eyebrows to protect your eyes from, the sweat when I work out. I have nothing that will stop sweat from dripping into my face, things like that you don't even think about because I've never had to. So I wear a scarf or a hat when I work out just to kind of keep sweat away from my face, and making sure I put sunscreen on my head, everywhere on my head, on my face. My eyebrows, I ended up having to I got them microbladed, so kind of tattooed, just so, but I need to put sunscreen on those as well, but just making sure that I kind of protect everything. And you learn to adapt and adjust, and it's nothing I thought about in the past, but when my hair fell out, my scalp was very white. I mean, I've always had, a thick layer of hair to keep it. So from where my hair was, it was just so, I hadn't seen the sun ever. So I got sunburned right away, and that peeled, and the peeling of after being sunburned. So now it's kind of evened out as far as my skin goes. But yeah, things that when I have recess duty or when I'm outside with my students, I have to remember, if there's sun out there, I need to bring my hat and make sure I have a hat in the classroom, or I have sunscreen, or I have something to protect myself from some that I didn't think of before.
Yes. Well, actually, you mentioned something about your students. I know, you had to walk through this journey, and now that you're rocking it, and I can say very well with, that baldness there, and, how, what about your students or your coworkers, family members? Can you share a little bit about that? Like their feelings and their take on that,
So when my hair first started falling out and I finally was like, okay, I can't keep hiding this. People are starting to notice. I decided to get a wig, and I was very terrified of, oh my gosh, if I wear a wig, people are going to know, people are going to look at me funny. So I wanted to make sure I got a wig that looked as much like my natural hairstyle before. And I was terrified to go to school the next day because, you show up one day looking at one way and then the next day completely different. So I messaged all my coworkers. I said, hey, tomorrow I'm going to be wearing a wig for the first time. Just so you guys know, this is what it is. So I told my coworkers, people that, I found them all, anyone, and just said, hey, this is what's happening. The students didn't even bat an eye the next day. They just thought I got a haircut, and I wanted them to think that, yes, I got a haircut. Yep, this is what it is. And went on like that for a while. So I was able to kind of keep it under wraps, and I wore the same wig that, it looks like everything else. And then when I finally shaved my head, I ended up getting a little more bold. I always wore a wig or something over it. I never wanted anyone to see that. But then I started getting a little more bold with, oh, blue, I love blue. I'm gonna wear, so I kind of got a little more fun with it. And the students are like, oh, you dyed your hair again. And the students never really knew. They just thought that, oh, you now have a different hairstyle and you dyed your hair. Yep, okay. So I kind of let them continue thinking like, oh, Miss Daniels is having different hairstyles. And yep, and then I remember at the end of the year, I can't remember what, it was a spirit day. And I ended up just wearing a scarf over my head instead of a wig or anything else. And that's when heads started turning of students and like, wait a minute, where's your, and I kind of told them a little bit, but I waited till the very end of the year and then let the summer go by. But then the following school year is when I made the bold choice to just, okay, this year I'm not wearing a wig. It's hot. It's Las Vegas. It's August. I'm gonna go for it. And I remember how terrified I was to show up to the first staff development day, because even my coworkers, other than my friends, hadn't really seen me like that. And just showing up to the first day of just teachers, like, the looks, what was going to happen. And I just had to do it because it was only going to get better from there. The scariest part, you just got to do it. And it ended up getting better. And day 2, no big deal. First day of a student's, the parent orientation, I kind of had to say, this is what I have. This is what it is. You might see me wearing wigs. You might not. I don't know. But this is what I look like. And I kind of just touched base on it. And at this point, nobody bats an eye. No, other than the new kindergartners, because, the little ones are the ones that have no filter and want to say whatever. Hey, how come you don't have hair? Like, where's your hair? Mm-hmm. And so I'll just, chat with them. But everyone at school, it's not even a big deal. Nobody even thinks anything of it. And so that's what's been the best part, is that it's completely normal. Nobody even bats an eye anymore. It's normal. It's Miss Daniels, and that's what it is. But it was taking that initial step just to do it was the hardest.
Yeah, I was gonna say that it's just like you said, just taking that first initial step out there. Mm-hmm. Once you take that step, then it's like you empowered to go from there. It's just getting to that point. You go through all sorts of things in your head and in your mind until you get to that point. But once you get to that point and you say, you know what, I'm just going to be who I am, and I'm just going to go for it. I have to be me. I have to be who I am. And even with me, I love doing different things with my hair that I actually buy. One day I could be blonde. One day I could be purple. One day I can be or brunette, whatever I want to be. But that's who I am, and that's what I like. So I take control over my situation and be who I am. I don't try to be disrespectful, and even with my husband, and I want to ask you about that. Even with my husband, I'll say to him when I'm doing the different styles, I say to you, are you okay with this? And he'll say, yeah. I said, because if you're not, then maybe I could do something different. But I'm not worried about anybody else. Mm-hmm. I'm just considering you. If you're okay with this, then I'm fine. Because I've always liked style. I always like living per se on the wild side. That's just my personality. I mean, most people probably think I'm basically a quiet person, but I love that wild side of things, that side that's different, that nobody else would probably dare to do. But that's just me. And I ask him, I'll say, are you comfortable with this? He said, yeah, I'm comfortable with it. I said, okay, then that's all that matters. So with Lawrence, how did that affect him? Was he supportive or what?
Nothing but supportive. I mean, he's never had anything to say other than, I'm like, oh, I think I should, what about this? Should I try this? Yeah, if that's what you want. He has been nothing but supportive and nothing but amazing. And anytime, if I try in a different wig, or I'm like, oh, should I wear my hair like this or should I do this? He's actually the one that cuts my hair each week right now. Now that I'm getting some back, but he is down for whatever, and he has been so supportive and so great. The one I have to worry about is my little 5-year-old who doesn't want me to wear it. He doesn't know me with hair. He was 1 year old when I lost my hair, so he doesn't, when I would wear my wigs, no mommy, take that off, no mommy, no. And he doesn't like it. He doesn't like me with hair. He doesn't, mommy, take that off. And then but he always wants to know, are you going to put on your eyelashes and your earrings? He likes, because then I'm the real mommy, he says. The real mommy wears her eyelashes and earrings.
So that's
yeah, no, so my little boy is the one that's hardest to please, but yes.
So you have cheerleaders in your corner. And that's what I was thinking, cheerleaders, real cheerleaders. Those, they're not going to love you any less. And that's what I want to say. True friends, real friends, no matter what, whether you lose your hair or whatever happens, they're going to continue to love you, your family, and those who are married, your husband and your children. Yes, there may be people out there who maybe don't know better, or they're just, they need to learn. They need to learn to be kind, to be nice out there, because there are many people, as we've said, who suffers from hair loss, and not just hair loss, other things. And the world should learn to be a little bit more kinder to each other. And so this is awesome. And when Dee mentioned, about your family, the ones who are closest to you, to receive you, because not even some family members are not so kind. When we suffer different things, maybe even like some people gain a little weight, they're like, why are you eating so much? Or those kind of things, instead of just loving you for who you are. And so I'm so glad you're rocking your crown and just, walking your journey out. But do you, maybe, I don't know if you don't have to answer this, but do you sometimes still have a day where you go like, that it wants to pull you to maybe the shame side or the press side, and then you shake yourself or something, say, this is who I am. Like, I'm every woman, that kind of thing.
I mean, there's definitely certain days where I'm like, oh, it would be so much nicer if I had something that if I look different, I'm like, oh, I don't really feel like looking like this today. But even my wigs anymore, I'll try and wear, and it doesn't feel like me. And so I've learned to just kind of go with it. But definitely there's days, but I'll tell you what, it is way easier to get ready in the morning. I am faster doing everything because I don't have to, wash and dry my hair and curl it. So in a ways it's been, there's definitely positives to it. But yes, there's days where I'm like, oh, people are looking at me, or I just joined a new gym and I'm like, oh, I'm going to be, the girl that has no hair and people are going to look at me. But at the same time, I'm like, oh, well, then they'll just know who I am, I guess. I'll be easier to spot.
Well, Ashley, I can say one thing for sure. You're the same beautiful woman that my husband came to Las Vegas to marry, with and without hair. You're the same beautiful person. It's that inward beauty that exudes, that comes out. And I'm happy that you have taken control over it and not let it rule your life and cause you to stay in a state of depression or feeling unloved, unwanted, or feel that you have to even measure up to what society thinks that you should look like. I don't think anyone should have to be under that weight of trying to be somebody other than who they are. For instance, for myself, you were saying that you don't feel comfortable now putting the hair on. I've added so much to mine for so long now. When I take mine out, I'm the flip of you. I said, I got to put this back on. But It's whatever a person desires that makes them feel whatever it is that they need to feel. I don't think you should allow anybody else feeling about you dictate what you should feel about yourself. Being your authentic, real self. I make a joke out of it now with my husband. I said, I'm going to see who I'm going to be today. I get in front of the mirror. I said, well, Christ, maybe you'll be blonde today. Or maybe you'll be a brunette. But those are choices that I make for myself, not that nobody else makes for me, that I make for myself. And as long as I'm not disrespectful in it, like I said, to my husband, then hey, and of course, unto the Lord, I always want to be presentable to him. I just go with it, especially if it's not causing anybody in the, it's only me. I'm who I am. You are not me. I am who I am. So, and I've just allowed God to allow me to be me. So with that being said, what advice would you give someone in organizing their life with hair loss? What would you tell them to do?
So my biggest takeaway, I was so terrified when my hair started falling out, because my biggest fear was, what if I go bald? What if I go bald? Mm-hmm. And look at me now. I mean, I'm like, hey, I'm bald. I feel like when I took control, I shaved my head after wearing wigs. Well, when I shaved my head, that was the most freeing, the best feeling in the world, was just getting rid of it. And I still had, the patches. I wasn't completely bald necessarily. I still had the stubble, when I shaved my head, but just getting rid of that whole, like the hair falling out, that stressed me out so much that getting rid of that was the most freeing thing I could have done, was just taking control. And I'm so upset with myself that I didn't do that sooner. I wish I would have realized, oh, well, I mean, if you go bald, then you go bald. And that's what ended up happening anyway. So I should have, instead of worrying about it for 6 months, I wish I would have done that sooner. So my biggest takeaway is I ended up having just to kind of own it and go with what I was comfortable with at the time. Like I said, I bought different colored wigs and I had fun with, the purple and the blue and the different styles and longer and shorter. And, I got to have fun with it a little bit first. And then I ended up, I'm more comfortable not having to even worry about putting a wig on. So my biggest takeaway was just, I wish I would have taken control and been more comfortable with it. Just own it and accept it and kind of move on, instead of worrying about, oh my gosh, what are people going to think? I was always worried about what's everyone else going to think. Oh my gosh, if I shave my head, what are people going to think? And I got to the point, I'm like, well, it is what it is. And this is how it's going to be. So let's just go with it. Yeah. So I wish I would have taken control sooner is my biggest regret.
And that's with anything in life, whatever decision that we make, just own it. Just own it and do it. If that's what you want to do, if it's not life-threatening, it's not hurt, it's not causing anybody else discomfort or whatever, just do it. Hey, it's you, it's who you are. Be your authentic, real self. And that's all that anybody should ever even ask of us. Society has a way of wanting to label us, telling us, once again, we should act this way, we should look this way, we should be this way. And, I did it this way, so you should do it that way. Mm-hmm. We're different. What might have worked for you may not work for me, and vice versa. So we have to learn to be comfortable in our own skin. Lois, you have something you want to say?
Yes. I was just thinking about that. I know it doesn't come like instantly when you're going through whatever challenges that we have in life. It is a journey. And now, because of your journey, Ashley, you know, the world is able to hear your story. And there are many out there like you. And so, and I know you have encouraged them and helped them to stand up a little straighter and walk in their truth. And, you know, it takes some getting there, because going through what we go through and what you've gone through, I know that now that you know, you still have to take precautions in managing maybe the depression or their shame and things like that. So what are some of the things? Do you have to eat healthier? What are what type of, are there any products you put on your hair? Like you said, you put what you call it, sunscreen. Is it any type of sunscreens? Is there special sunscreens for people who suffer from hair loss? Or maybe you can share something about that, you know, talk about poor eating habits, or do you have to get more rest, exercise? Can you elaborate on that, please?
A lot of times, alopecia is triggered by stress or trauma or things like that. So I know stress, especially when I was 27, I went through a really stressful time in my life, and that's when when the alopecia started. And getting through that, you know, exercising, seeking counseling, talking to somebody, things like that kind of got me through it. And that's when my hair came back. This last time, you know, just stress plays a big role in it. And even, you know, the stress of losing your hair and then actually seeing your hair, and when I shaved my head, I ended up, you know, joining kickboxing again and going back to the gym and managing it that way. I think that so much of it is stress related, and eating healthier is definitely, I know talking to my dermatologist, they talked about gut health and things like that. So I think that there's ways. I'm not the best at eating the healthiest, and so I'm sure that that's something that I could be working on. But I definitely think exercise and getting enough sleep and things like that is a way to help manage it. As far as sunscreen, I just use regular sunscreen, or even like my face moisturizer that has sunscreen, and I put it kind of all over as far as that goes. But other than, I haven't done any special products for it. It's something that I've looked into, but I have such sensitive skin anyway. I don't want to put anything else on, you know, and cause any, because like I said, my skin is super sensitive. I get eczema on my hands, and I have reactions to things. And so I just haven't really looked into other products for alopecia or anything else. I've just kind of gone with what is simple and works for me.
Thank you.
Well, Ashley, I must say that you have been an encouragement. And I do believe that for those who are watching now, that might be going through this scenario with alopecia, or those who might watch later, that you have given some insight into how you can manage your situation by just taking control and being who you are. This is not to say that it will be easy to do, but it is something that you can be intentional about, that you can be intentional. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is the step I'm going to take. And this is what I choose to live with at this moment. It doesn't mean that things doesn't change. Like you said, now you're even getting some of your hair back. Who's to say that you won't get it all back? But whatever the case be, whether you have all your hair back or you don't have all your hair back, you are comfortable in being who you are, and not what somebody else deems that you should be. So thank you for joining us today and sharing with our viewers part of your journey with alopecia. As I said before, I'm confident that you have given more awareness to the hair loss and have encouraged one to embrace their hair loss with courage to lift up their heads and still be the beautiful person that they are, both inside and outwardly. Taking control. You're taking control at the helm. It is not taking control of you. You are taking control of the situation. And like I said before, Ashley, you're the same beautiful person that you've always been. Nothing is lacking. Absolutely nothing. Continue to be your beautiful, beautiful self. And before we go off, I would just like to say to our viewers that Destiny Colloquy will be taking a hiatus as we usually do for the summer months. We normally start in June, but I just felt in my spirit we should talk about alopecia before we took our summer break. So we're taking a break from the month of August through October. Now, in the month of October, we normally have our Women of Destiny conference. And as you know, the pandemic was here, so we did it virtually. But this year, we're doing something totally different. We are partnering in partnership with Bethel Beautiful Women, and we will be having our in-live conference on November the 4th through the 6th. So save the date, ladies, for our event, November the 4th through the 6th, 2022. The details are forthcoming, and I believe you won't want to miss out on this anointed women's conference. The conference is called Ablaze, a light, a lamp, a fire, and a flame. Future details are coming. I cannot give you any of the particulars now. I just want to make sure that, as I said, I am in partnership with another ministry, and I want to make sure that we do everything in decent and in order. So we will put out before you the times, the dates, the speakers, and all that good stuff, so that you will be able to make your decision whether or not you can join us. But you can at least mark your calendars for November the 4th through the 6th, 2022, and just watch out for further details. I thank you for joining us for Destiny Colloquies, for our various series that we have had, and we look forward to coming back maybe the first of the year with our new sessions. So Lois, would you close us out?
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, Ashley. It's an honor to be here with you today. And yes, you are one of my daughters in love. We don't say in-law. I'm in love with you. And so I really appreciate you sharing your journey with us. I did put in the chat, there's a national foundation organization about alopecia that Ashley has shared with us. And also, if I typed it in correctly, I also put in her Instagram page so that you can follow her. So at this time, and I want to thank you, Reverend D, for this honor to co-host with you today. I really, truly appreciate it. I appreciate everyone who got on Facebook Live today to like or love and to send all those lovely hearts to Women of Destiny Colloquy from Virginia. And so I also put the dates of Ablaze, Women Ablaze, in the chat. So if you like to jot down those dates. So at this time, we're going to close out. And again, thank you for joining us today. It has been such a wonderful, wonderful colloquy this morning. So let us pray. Father, we just want to thank you for the opportunity to come together on Facebook Live. We thank you for Reverend D, who you gave this call to, and we thank you for Ashley, who was able to get on the call and share her journey, and for all of those who are out there who are listening, who may listen to it this later, who are going through something in their lives. May they glean something from it, and may they be able to continue to walk in their purpose, sit up a little higher, raise their head up, and know that they are okay just the way they are. They're wonderfully and fearfully made. May you be with each and every one of us today. And we want to thank you and praise you for the opportunity to be on today. So may you bless everyone of the sound of my voice, and may they have a wonderful and beautiful day. And may they know that they are loved in the name of our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Have a great day, everyone.